Liars of Reddit. What was the biggest lie you got away with? When I was 13 to 14 I was kicking a soccer ball around inside the house. I used to love running around the house dribbling, cutting in and out around the furniture. My mom would get onto me repeatedly about it, saying it was only a matter of time before something broke, blah blah out of her. One day she leaves to run to the store, right after scolding me about that damn ball. Me being me, as soon as she leaves I naturally start dribbling around and end up accidentally kicking the ball through a window pane, shattering the window. Glass everywhere. I start freaking out because this was literally my mom's only rule. So being the smart 13-year-old and realizing I have close to 5 minutes to fix the situation before all hell breaks loose, my genius idea is to scoop up all of the glass that was kicked outside and throw it back inside to make it look like I was playing with the ball outside, not inside. I figured she would be much less upset at me if I was playing outside in the yard. I vacuumed all of the loose glass inside and sat on a bench outside until she came back. I played it off perfectly. My plan worked effortless. I should have just blamed it on my brother in hindsight. When I was 14, I was at a Boy Scout camp for a week, and me and a few of my friends were playing tag around our camp. One of our heavier members ran over to the camp table and jumped onto the bench. It broke the nails and the table completely fell apart. We tried to put it back together before the leaders got back from whatever meeting they were at, but we were running out of time. So instead we got the camp axe and broke the table apart. Then we spread it out in the woods as far away from our camp as we could. Then we found a campsite whose troop wasn't there and stole their table. A few hours later the troop stopped by asking if we had seen their table. We never told anyone. TLDR. Broke a table at scout camp, hid it in the woods, and stole someone else's table. I told some people in my elementary school there was a secret level in Super Mario 64. I was jealous that everyone had a Nintendo 64 and my family couldn't afford one. So I convinced people not only that I did have an N64, but also that I had found a secret level that they didn't know about. Our local news station announces school closings for snow and ice. Apparently they believe anyone who emails them. I was the principal of 10 or so different schools. Ended up getting like 4,000 kids out to school the next day. I was 20 when I got my first internship. I was eating lunch when everyone in the office started talking about their pets. Someone asked me if I had a pet, and I reflexively answered yes. No idea why my brain panicked and did that, but it's weird to say yeah I have a dog. I mean, no I don't. So I just went with it. Turns out, there are a lot of pictures of cute puppies on the internet, and it makes a great excuse to leave early when Chester has an appointment with the vet. When I was a teenager I had a group of friends who liked to just drive around and smoke weed. My mom would always wait up, but since she's the type who prefers to fall asleep around 9 PM she was pretty groggy by the time curfew rolled around. One night I looked at the clock and was going to be late, so I called home. Keep in mind it's the 90s, and we have a landline phone. I have an extension in my room. Mom answers and without thinking. Me, oh, I've got the phone. Mom, it's for me. You can go to sleep. Sorry if it woke you up. Mom, you're home. Me, yeah. Have been for a while. Sorry I thought you were asleep. Night Mom. To which she grumbled and fell back asleep. I sneak in a few hours later through the backsliding door. Did this a few more times throughout high school. It had never worked now because of cell phones. That's it guys. TL. Doctor took advantage of outdated phone technology to fool sleepy mom into thinking I made curfew. I told my English class in grade 9 or 10 that I had tried out for American Idol even though I'm Canadian. I was homesick the day of the tryouts, so I had a pretty good setup I thought. One of the guys called me on my shit, asked me to bring in my paper number, the thing that the contestants wear on their shirt, to give them an ID number. My dad used to do bike races. He had a bunch of those things. I cut off the top that said British Columbia Racing or something like that and brought that in. The guy was flabbergasted. My teacher then asked me what song I sung, so I said I just wanted to get on TV, so I sung the Pokemon theme song. Teacher then wanted me to sing it, but I said I was too shy. No one ever asked me about it again. Sorry Brian, you got me. You deserve to know. Not biggest, but most amusing. My wife and I were in Mexico, stopped at a convenience store to get some snacks and stuff. The clerk told her how much it was, in Spanish. My wife looked confused for a moment, so I repeated the total for her in English. I could tell it made an impression on her. For a long time after, when talking about foreign language, she would tell people how quickly I pick up on it when traveling. I know this was when she first formed that opinion. I've never told her I read the number on the cash register. I did a deposit at the bank the business I work for uses about 6 months ago as a quick favor before a shift, and the manager remarked to an employee that had his back turned to me while I was there that he appreciated his Senegalese attention to detail. Fast forward 2 months later, and I'd go in and do another deposit at the same bank, but this time it's with the Senegalese guy, and I asked him how to pronounce his last name while we were making small talk, and he tells me how, and that it's French. So I do a squinty look, like I'm thinking really hard, and say that would make you Senegalese? He slapped the table with both hands and had the biggest smile on his face, like he was blown away that I had guessed right. In total disbelief that an American had deduced that so quickly. So he asks me how I knew he was from there, and I just said he didn't look like he was from Tunisia or Algeria, so Senegal was a safe bet, and he told me that was great reasoning. A couple years ago I started seeing a therapist I didn't want my parents to know about. I was 18, so I didn't need them to sign on, and I paid out of pocket with money from a part-time job I had. My brother and I shared a car, but since he was at college out of town it was effectively mine, and I used it to get to my therapist's office. I went to my appointments at the same time every week and told my mom that I was going out with some friends for bingo night at a local pizza parlor. Since I actually did have a history of going out to play board games with friends, this didn't raise any suspicion. One day about a month into this, I walk out of my appointment to see my mom's car parked next to mine. I think fuck it's over now, I gotta tell her, and walk over. She's standing by her car. When I walk over, I'm not sure if she saw me come out of the building, but I think she must have. She said something to the effect of shitposting. What are you doing here? I said something like and she goes, did you come out here to be alone? So I just went with it, put on a sheepish face, and said something like yeah, pretty much. She says yeah, I come out here too when I need to cry sometimes. I didn't know what to say to that, so I gave her a hug, drove off to run some other errands, then went home. She never brought it up again, and I continued seeing that therapist for 7 months with no one the wiser. I have no idea how my mom didn't pick up on it then. Writing this, I wonder if maybe she did, she just didn't want to confront me about it or something. But then again, I doubt it. My mom can be pretty oblivious. Still, for those 8 months no one knew I was seeing anyone, or, from what I know, suspected anything. My best friend has a funny cool older brother named Jason. We all went to church together, and eventually me and my buddy got old enough for youth group where Jason was. Well, the first time I ever met my youth pastor, Jason turns to me and says, hey, make up a fake name and just roll with it. The youth pastor was similar to Jason in that they both were big jackesters, so I shook his hand and said, hi, I'm Derek Johnson, possibly one of Joel's name out there, but not my real name. He welcomed me and then left to prepare his lesson. Obviously me and my buddies lose it and burst out laughing as soon as he walks away. Soon enough he starts his lesson, and I'm waiting until after to tell him I'm not Derek Johnson. Well, as I'm about to break the news, Jason stops me and convinces me to keep it going. Says it'll fade out eventually. It did not. We got super into it, and eventually it became natural. 2 entire years spent of conditioning myself to only respond to Derek when called by people at church and my real name everywhere else. We would go on a bunch of field trips to various places including Disney, where my ticket even said Derek Johnson on it. One day we were paintballing and me and my pastor began talking about life. He asked what my dad does for a living, and I talked about the software distribution company he works for. Apparently 25 years ago my youth pastor also worked for the same company and sat next to my dad, who he plays golf with regularly. That was quite a moment to get caught in, haha. One of my teachers in 8th grade gave me a 0 for a project I didn't turn in. I told her I did it and handed it in. She said that she felt bad, that she lost my work, and that I wasn't getting credit for all of the effort I put into the assignment. So she gave me 100 for a project I never did. I'm a goody two shoes, so the fact that I did that and got away with it still blows my mind to this day.